Welcome to Survive and Thrive, dw-akademie's dialogue with media managers on innovative and sustainable business models in a challenging global media landscape. We'll talk motivation, lessons learned, funding models, decisions both good and bad, and recipes for success.
Welcome! It's 2024, and Survive and Thrive, your media viability podcast, is back for a second run. And this year, we're continuing to bring you stories about media outlets overcoming existential challenges and the lessons they learned along the way. I'm Janelle de Balaon. Let's say you have a brand you still need to build, financing challenges, and a pernicious disinformation problem from hostile actors, while every day having to put out news and investigative features that matter to your readers. That's something that Sherry Lee, Chief Operating Officer of The Reporter in Taiwan, is very familiar with. Sherry, welcome.
Hi, Janelle. Hi.
Very eager to get right to it and hear all about the stories surrounding The Reporter. But first, this quick questionnaire. Your business model in a catchphrase.
I will say from the people and for the people. The Reporter is a nonprofit and a donation-based news outlet, and its content is open to all. There are three things we choose not to have: government funding, advertisements, and paywall. And we rely on big numbers of small donations so we can write things independent.
Did you ever manage a moment when everything seemed lost?
I won't use the word lost. I was a little bit uncertain. People don't think the Reporter can survive for 3 years, but the Reporter survived 8 years already. Our staffs grew from 14 to 47. We know very clearly what our purpose is and what we want to achieve. So there are lots of uncertain moments, but not lost.
Never lost. What would you need to survive in the future?
I will say three things very essential to our future: readers, impact, and donations. And they are basic, the same thing. If your stories have impact, you can reach more readers. Then you can bring in more donations. It's a full circle.
Sherry, today we're talking about The Reporter. That's Taiwan's very first nonprofit media organization, you've already said, focused on reportage and investigative journalism. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Now, you have, in a way, you've talked about how there's no government, there's no paywall, you're for the people and by the people. But tell us a bit more about what you do and for whom and why.
We are founded in 2015. At that time, most of media are relying on advertisement and government funding, but it's not good for a healthy media to rely on those fundings. So we start an alternative to establish and initiate a donation-based news outlet. We don't call it subscription model, because if you say it's a subscription model, means that you have to subscribe and you can read the news. But we are open to all the public. Even you don't subscribe or you don't have an email, you can still see our content on the web. And our specialty is on long-form narratives. It's quite a brand new thing for Chinese readers. And our business model is also a new try in Taiwan. So how to roll in donations from the public is a major issue for us.
Can you give us an example of the kind of investigative journalism that The Reporter does?
I think in the past few years, what happened in Taiwan is every media is chasing for clips. And the headlines are very sensational, but this is not our way. We want to be a trustworthy news outlet. So quality journalism and news quality is the key. That's why we focus on the investigation and in-depth stories. Our story are long-form narratives. It doesn't mean that we want to write in a very long form, but we use these long-form narratives to distinguish our media and the other medias. Because when we write in the long-form narrative, we will put a lot of context, and we will give our readers a lot of knowledge. That's very important to have the dialogue with your readers. So in the past 8 years, we won a lot of awards, and we did a lot of cross-border investigation with Indonesia, with South Korea, and Japan's media. We think that in this kind of intertwined world, a lot of things are very complicated. So you can't just chase for the clips and headlines. You have to be trustworthy, and you have to give your audience brief facts and insights and the relevancy and impacts. So in the past 8 years, I think we have won people's trust. In this era, I think trust is much difficult than anything.
So you were talking about the relationship of trust, media, and then the support that you get from your audiences. I was just wondering, because our audience is more able to appreciate the role of media in Taiwan there. I mean, Taiwan, of course, has some of the freest media in the world, if I'm not mistaken. How would you
Yes.
describe the landscape?
Taiwan is a free place, but we also challenge about the freedom. If you have the freedom, you need to have the responsibility. But these days, I think most reporters don't have the chance to dig into the in-depth, not because they don't have freedom, but they have a lot of freedom. But the media don't put the right thing and the right effort to do the right thing. So that's the differentiation for the reporter.
What do you mean exactly by many media don't do the right thing?
They chase for the clips.
Right.
There is one student. He told me that if he wrote some article wrong, it's okay because he can write other articles to correct it. So he can get more clicks because the journalist will have a lot of KPI, each month. The journalist has to create at least 1 million or 2 million clicks every month, even more. So if you bring this KPI to the journalist, how could they make things right? They will chase something very sensational and even not correct. So I think the environment is not very healthy. Even in Taiwan, we have totally freedom to express ourselves, but we don't cherish this environment. So that is the key. And sometimes the media will get polarized because when they grab the polarized community or audience, they can get many clicks. And when media get polarized, it's very difficult for them to dialogue.
I was just thinking, because you were talking about the sensationalism in media, you were talking about just how there seems to be a low level of commitment to the truth. And it made me think of another problem that media in Taiwan is also confronted by, and that, of course, is disinformation. I read somewhere that Taiwan is the society that's most impacted by disinformation from beyond its borders. What sort of challenges has that represented for your work at The Reporter?
I think Taiwan society is constantly affected by Chinese Communist Party (CCP). Chinese hackers attacked Taiwan media servers in the past few years, especially during the election, and they also produced the fake news. And I will say the information pollution from simplified Chinese word is spreading very quickly in Taiwan. So on this part, we we have to do a lot of fact check because we know truth spreads slower than lies, and the speed of the clarification can never catch up the speed of lies. So keep producing in-depth and investigation reports. Make sure the correct information flow, and also give readers insights are all important. And that's our mission to give readers facts and insights.
This, of course, sounds like a very resource-intensive way to do journalism. Now, you've already pointed out that disinformation spreads faster than truth, that you can never catch up with the speed of clarification, with fact checking that always takes more time than simply producing the actual lie and spreading it out there. How do you put resources from your newsroom sustainably into producing good, factual, and in-depth news that counters this wave of disinformation?
As a very small and medium size news outlet, we have to decide what kind of topic we are going to. As I said, in the first year, we only have 14 people. Now we have 47 people. We still put more resources on talents. For example, we recruit two data journalists to help us. In China, it's very difficult to send. It's not safe for us to send reporters to China and Hong Kong after 2020. China has been tightening its control of the press, including foreign media. So your question is about how do we put resources, right?
Yes.
So when we recruit these two data journalists, I think it's very important because China is always a major factor to us, to his neighbors. Their policy, their action will affect us drastically. So the data journalists actually become very important. They will do the investigate stories through data, and it worked very well. I can give you some examples if you are interested. Like last year, we did two investigative stories through data. Like the first is called The Failed Sanction, How Australian Lobster Are Smuggled to China. The background of the story is China's economic sanction on Australia in 2020 due to China's wolf warrior diplomacy. China banned the import of Australian lobsters, which is about 5,000 to 8,000 tons a year. However, part of those banned lobsters somehow still made their way to China. But how? The answer is Taiwan's outlying islands of Kinmen and Mazu. And Kinmen and Mazu are Taiwan's two small islands closest to China, just several kilometers away. So the data journalists checked the lobster's origin, which was from Australia. We collected the statistics from the customs of China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Australia. So we checked a lot of data, checked the flight records, interviewed exporters, importers. So we did this investigation. And second investigation is Chinese illegal dredging in the Taiwan Strait, in Taiwan's economic waters. So our data journalists also collected, downloaded, and analyzed the court documents of hundreds of convicted cases from China. And we analyzed names of the ships, the time, the longitude, the latitude of sand theft boats. So we can see the big picture. These are two stories come from data. The lobster story and the dredging boat story, both of them were discovered through small changes. And we found the loopholes and the patterns, and led to great findings. As I mentioned, the world is so connected and intertwined. That's how we put our resources and try to find a way to break through China's control of the press. And besides this, because we did a lot of cross-border investigation, so we can see from different perspectives to double check our findings and to give our story fairness to let our readers to know different and diverse opinions.
So, if I understand correctly, what you do is that you report especially data driven stories in order to give your readers a picture of what's truly happening. You use the numbers in order to be able to investigate, even if you're not perhaps physically able to go to China because, as you pointed out, it's dangerous. And in so doing, still provide your readers with valuable information that they need to know. I was wondering how it might be like this time around. Of course, Taiwan just has had an election. The winning candidate is not someone that China sees entirely favorably. Do you think that this could also impact your work? Are the disinformation attacks going to get worse, for example?
First, I have to reply the our coverage about the China and the Asian region is around like 15%, but 85% of our stories are focused in Taiwan. So our work is different from other media. I think the specialty is that we will go to the field, go back and forth. We will go to like the far sea fishery, human trafficking. We will go on the boat, and we will find a lot of stories and numbers to make sure that our discovery is correct. So not only China issues, because the China issue is different. We can't get into China after 2020. We can't get into Hong Kong after 2020 because it's dangerous. But the other stories, we will try to go to the field, like the Ukraine war in 2022. We sent two teams to Ukraine. Even we are a very small news outlet, we will try our best to go to the field. Yeah. And when you mentioned about the after the election, I think a war with smoke has already begun. In recent years, Chinese hackers have continued to target many Taiwanese media. And as the presidential election approaches, even the like Taiwan's national news agency has been hit a higher level. So the Chinese hackers hacked the media and published the news they wanted. Controlling the media is definitely the most efficient way to create social disturbance. So I think we should condemn this behavior, but there's nothing we can do if we only condemn. We have to be very careful and aware of not self-censorship ourselves to speak for the truth. But we need to prepare for possible hostile situation. So I think a realistic consideration is to like improve our information security protection and protect our interviewees' personal information and data through the investigation.
I wanted to ask about that. You've talked about the importance of potentially having to prepare for hostile situations. How do you protect your reporters? How do you protect your sources when reporting on this and speaking about sensitive issues that could inflame tensions with China? How do when those things could come at a personal cost, how do you protect them?
Um, yeah, it's a very important question, and I don't know that if we do it good or not. Uh, of course, we will use like on mail or Signal, Telegram, and to delete the information like 2 days or 3 days to make sure that we are not followed. But also, I would like to share one thing, like the situation in Hong Kong. The journalists in Hong Kong, they can write, they can't write any controversial topics these days. So it's like it's kind of a collaboration. If we know that there is something should be written, like the for the Hong Kong exiles, they live in Hong Kong, they live in England, in the British or in Canada or in Taiwan, but the Hong Kong journalists can write about their stories. We can do that because at least we are not we won't be hurt or be harassed by the Hong Kong government. So this kind of collaboration is happening. So we have to make sure we use anonymous name and they are not recognized. And then about the reporter, if they are not Taiwanese, they want to use another name, we will respect.
So this is your outlet. It's clearly been through a lot since 2015. You've had to grow your brand. You've had to also make difficult choices, also make a lot of effort into protecting your reporters while producing in-depth journalism. Clearly what you've decided to do is not the easy thing. You wanted to do in-depth reporting with an impact and also with the potential threat to safety, with the potential threat to your newsroom. What can you tell us about how you want the future of the reporter to look like? What is your vision for the outlet?
There are a lot of things we can do. That I think we are in the era where democracy is extremely fragile. So the number of readers who are willing to spend time to serious news, we see that are decreasing. So we have no other choice but to hope that this decline can slow down. We believe good journalism matters than ever. So bring people to talk, to meet people is important. We not only do good journalism, but we hope that our readers and audience can understand each other. In Taiwan, a lot of hatred and polarizations comes from not understanding each other. So the reporter hold face-to-face activity with readers every month to discuss a topic with them. They have diverse faces. The people come to the activity. Some mothers and daughters come together. Couples hold newborns. Elder people or senior high school students, they all come. Professionals. So we hope to build a bridge of diverse opinions so that people can hear ideas that are different from their own and try to get out of the echo chamber. We also do something very interesting last year. We created a new product, launched a new website called the Reporter for Kids. The young people in Taiwan, especially the Z generation, they love to use the Douyin, TikTok, Little Red Book. It's very popular in Taiwan's Z generation, but it's also a brainwashing style of communication and makes it difficult for users to resist. So the Reporter for Kids, we target 10 to 15 years old young readers. Since we have lots of good and in-depth news, we integrate and transform the long-form narrative into a concise version with less text, more illustrations, and an interactive way to encourage teenagers to read serious news. I think this will help the more young people to know serious issues in early time. That's our future and our goal.
I mean, those are certainly very worthy goals, especially in terms of trying to cultivate an understanding and an interest in the news among the very young. There are clearly generational differences, as you put it, with regard to how news is consumed by especially younger audiences. Now, we've talked about a lot of things, a lot of challenges that you're currently facing with regard to just in general the fraying of democracy and how difficult that is for media, but how important it is to defend. We've talked about these modern platforms that are competing for the attention of young people, and at the same time, the unique sort of geopolitical position that Taiwan is in. Do you see any other future challenges that are coming your way that you feel you have to be prepared for?
As a news media, I think the biggest challenge is still how to keep and maintain a trustworthy news outlet brand. We have to provide readers with good journalism, good quality, and it's not easy. It's like a handcraft techniques. So we have to confirm that our reports bring impacts and facts and changes to the society. And I think the second challenge is from social media. As we talk to Generation Z, seldom read serious news. So how to attract them? How to persuade people to absorb in-depth stories in the daily busy tempo? So we tried very hard to tell stories in different ways, like we have tried short videos, news games, tried podcasts and multimedia, and also comics journalism. And this innovative try all successfully attracted more readers to visit our website. And I think the last challenge is how to invite more people to join our alternative business model. It's like a social movement. I think we are creating a movement to turn good journalism to a bedrock of robust civil society. If we don't want to be interfered by the government and big corporate, we need more people, we need more readers to support us to do the job. So I would say it's like a social movement. When people read, share, or donate to us, journalism will have a healthier environment to thrive.
That's very well said. I was also just curious. You mentioned that you would hold face-to-face events for people to talk about the issues that are concerning them. What has stood out to you as something that perhaps seemed very important to your audiences that you became aware of through these events?
People live in the echo chamber, very serious, because it's like a parallel world. Every day they wake up and some people read newspaper, still read newspaper, and most people don't read newspaper. They scroll in the Facebook or threads. The younger students, youngers use the threads to know the world. But you know how narrowed the world will be if you only see the threads over Instagram, because they are short videos and there is no context of the serious issues. So when we bring them to the real world, when they see people in the real world, to meet people and to listen to them, I think they will realize actually they have more common than disagreement. And I think it's important when we see people, we are more kind, patient, and we can see facial expression. So we won't have so much hatred.
I think this is a very interesting point you make. Of course, in the vast majority of cases, we don't in fact see our readers, we don't see our viewers, and as such, I think it is quite a special thing to be able to bring people together and have them see each other, as you say, and of course that leads to less suspicion and less hatred, as you might imagine.
I remember several years ago, my reporter went to Germany to do a report. There is a newspaper or magazine. They use the Tinder to match each other. They use the Tinder to match the polarized, the different side, the left wing and the right wing, and put them into the real world to discuss for 3 hours. And after 3 hours, they found that actually they have something in common. So I think it's so important to bring people to the real world, not just behind the laptop or your gadget, because we are humans. We need to feel the other. We will be more sympathetic, or we will show our empathy. I think it's important for news outlet to make a dialogue platform, but not uh, just concentrate on his ideology, because it's not healthy for the society.
So that's almost it for our time together today. And I really do want to say how much I appreciate these points about having to build a social movement in order to defend democracy and media being one of the ways that you can do that. Now, before we let you go, however, we would like you to name three best practice tips for us that you would like to impart among the other media managers of the world who might be running their own media outlets and having similar, if not exactly the same challenges as you.
Okay. Um, I think first it be trustworthy. News quality is the key. Make sure your investigation stories bring facts, insights, and impacts. But if you make a mistake, I think you have to admit it and say sorry, because we don't have a God's perspective. The true trustworthy comes from every step's sincerity of the newsroom. And second, be innovative. Innovative in telling stories, innovative in communicating with readers, make dialogues happen. And when you go into in-depth, don't forget to make complicated things intelligible. And the last one, turn readers and donors to become the change makers of good journalism. You dream, they dream. A person can go fast, a group of people can go further. So make sustainability possible. You need not only readers, but donors. That's my three best practice. So I hope it helped.
So let's see if I got this together. So the first one is to be trustworthy, create an impact, but also to be accountable in times where you might have made mistakes. The second one is to innovate and make dialogue between people happen. The third one is to ensure that your readers and your donors become the change makers that we want to see in the world because a group of people can accomplish so much more than individuals can. Shirley, you and the reporter have accomplished so much. Thank you so much for speaking to us today. And thank you, dear listeners. Appreciate you joining us today, too. Do check out the show notes for more. Till next time on Survive and Thrive.
Thanks for listening to Survive and Thrive, the Media Viability Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and make sure to hit like so that other listeners can find us as well. For feedback, send an email to dw-akademie.surviveandthrive@dw.com. You can find all the information in the show notes.